Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight's video is going to be about the beaver style bait, so go ahead and stay tuned. So the beaver style bait, its origin is from the reaction innovation sweet beaver, and then from there other companies have come up with their own versions of the style of creature bait, and it's just adopted the name the beaver style bait because there's really nothing that it looks like to name it after, so that's just kind of what people started calling it. All kinds of companies have their own versions of it. Strike King does. Guggen's Bandito Bug is similar. You know, they're not all the same. They're all very different. But you know, just know that that's kind of the origin of it, and that's kind of why it's called a beaver style bait. But really, all it is just a creature bait, the same as like a brush hog or a lizard or anything like that. They're all creature baits, but this specific style is what you would call a beaver style bait. So the beaver style bait is a dead action bait, or is what we call a dead action bait. And it's because it doesn't really have much movement. It's pretty dead in the water. You compare it to a crawl, you've got appendages that kick, while whenever these fall, they just they don't really do a whole lot. There's not much movement going on. And there's all kinds of baits that are categorized as a dead action. A lizard could be considered a dead action because the only movement it has kind of comes from the very little kind of ribbon tail that it has, but it doesn't really do much. A stick bait, you know, that's considered a dead action bait. So there's other versions, just a couple examples, but yeah, the beaver is considered a dead action bait. Now, from my understanding, the reason that these work so well is the profile, and it's this profile. There's just something about it that the fish really like, and it's still a relatively new-ish bait on the market when compared to like a brush hog or a fluke or something like that. It's still relatively new in the soft plastic world, but yet it has been around for quite some time now. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, many companies have their own rendition of their beaver style bait. This is the Riot Baits Fuzzy Beaver. This is what I personally use. I'm a huge fan of the fuzzy. I've had great success with it, and in my opinion, it is definitely the best beaver out there on the market. I've used a ton of them before I was sponsored from Riot, and I really, you know, these are really what got me interested in Riot. These are just great. These are just great baits. If you've never thrown a beaver, I highly suggest going Riot. If you've never tried Riot before, I strongly suggest and point you in the direction of giving the fuzzy beaver a try. These are one of the best baits in my entire box. You know, these are a staple. I've almost always got a beaver tied on. Most of my biggest fish have been caught on them. And whenever I have to flip into a brush pile or something that I know I need to catch something, usually the beaver is usually what I pull out. So the main way to rig up a beaver would be on a Texas rig. Now, I have two hooks that I use whenever I'm rigging up or Texas rigging a beaver. I will most commonly throw it on a straight shank flipping hook. This is a Trocar. This is the TK135. This is the Monster Flip. I'm not sponsored by Trocar. Only company in this video that I'm sponsored by is Riot. But again, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not sponsored by Trocar, but that's pretty much all I use hook-wise, in case you were wondering. But I've had a lot of success with this. Whenever I'm flipping and pitching, I really prefer to have a straight shank. I like the benefits that it has over an EWG, and I can kind of deal with the cons that come along with the straight shank. Well, I like having the heavy duty beefy hook. I like to fish heavy braid, heavy rod, so I'm a big fan of flipping it on a straight shank. But whenever it's not needed, or whenever I'm throwing into something that you don't want to throw a straight shank in because you're afraid to get hung up, I will throw it on EWG. These are both 4/0s. A 5/0 is a little bit too big for the fuzzy beaver in my opinion. The 4 fits it just fine. This is a Mark Zona barbed hook. It is a heavy wire, which is normally what I'm throwing these on, is a heavy wire. As far as weight, I'll throw some type of flipping weight, but it kind of varies. Just 3/8, half, 3/4, pretty much what I throw, or a quarter ounce sometimes. That's just it. Choose your weight, accordingly to the situation. Same way with your hook. This isn't always the right option, just like the EWG isn't always the right option. So just Texas rig these the way you like to Texas rig them and fish them. That's all I can tell you to do. That was just for reference of how I like to do it. And if you haven't tried a straight shank flipping hook, I highly suggest them if you have the equipment to do it with. It's not that you have to have a heavy rod, but it certainly does help. And braid, you can do fluorocarbon too. Fluorocarbon's fine, but I do prefer braid whenever I am when I'm flipping with a straight shank flipping hook. So that's just kind of how I like to rig them. There's really you can Tokyo rig. You can do all kinds of things like that are variants of a Texas rig, Carolina rig, things like that. These all work great for it. Another thing you can do with these, I've never done it personally because I have something I already use for drop shots. But what some guys will do is they'll take a pair of scissors and they'll cut it in half, any beaver style, and they'll cut it in half and they'll use it like that as a drop shot bait. Now, like I said, I've personally never done that, but that is something that you can do if you've never tried it. Certainly something I'd like to try eventually. I'm not a huge drop shot or finesse person, but maybe one of these days I'll get around to trying it. When it comes to the beaver, I keep a variety of colors. It's not so much like my jigs where I only keep 5 colors and call it at that. This is also where I like to bring color into my jigs. Not so much with the fuzzy beaver, but with the little fuzzy, which is just a miniature version of this. There are other sizes you can get in these. The little fuzzy makes a great jig trailer if you're interested in trying out a new trailer. That's another thing that beavers are great for, trailers. They work amazing as jig trailers. But again, colors, you have your standard black and blue and green pumpkin, of course. And then I'll have a brown or orangish green pumpkin. And then this is Riot, which is the green pumpkin red flake. The green pumpkin red flake is a big color for me. I don't throw the brown as much on its own, but it definitely does have its time. This is Tidal Blue from Riot. It's a very relaxed blue. It's not very prominent compared to the Okeechobee Craw. Has a very bright blue in it. This is one of my favorite colors. It looks just like a bluegill. Same with the Tidal Blue. And then Slayer, let me grab this one. And Slayer, which is green pumpkin on one side and kind of a June buggy color on the other. Now this is actually probably my favorite color. This is just such a good color. If you have middle of the road water or you really just don't know which way to go, Slayer has been a great color for me in everything, especially the fuzzy beaver. A lot of times I'm throwing black and blue Slayer or Okeechobee Craw. Those are normally my normal colors I grab first. But Riot is definitely a close second, or I guess fourth, but it's definitely a runner-up. But that's pretty much it for color. You can get as many colors as you want in these. I suggest getting as many colors as you want in a beaver because they're definitely something that is so versatile. It works everywhere across the country pretty much all the time. I mean, if you can flip into something and that's what they're biting on, a lot of times they'll want everything to do with a beaver, especially these fuzzy beavers. These are the best out there. Now, if you're interested in any of these any of these Riot products in any of my videos, but especially these, I highly encourage you to try these out if you're interested in getting into Riot at all. If you've never tried them before, or if you've never tried a beaver style bait, I highly suggest the Fuzzy Beaver from Riot. I'll have my discount code down in the description below. It'll give you 15% off of your order. Again, highly suggest the Fuzzy Beaver from Riot. So how I like to fish a beaver style bait, or the Fuzzy Beaver, I really like to fish them in around wood, grass, shallow kind of ledges. Sometimes you get in the rivers or back in a creek, in a lake, like your highland reservoirs mainly, or even your lowland reservoirs. You can kind of get in your pockets or your big creek arms. You can get on like it may have a ledge, but it's only in about 7 foot of water, a couple feet off the bank. These are just great for any flipping application. If you have something Texas rigged, if you like to fish anything on a Texas rig, I mean, this will do it. I mean, you can put these things anywhere and they will catch fish. If you're out in the middle of the lake and you want to offshore fish and you want to throw this on a Carolina rig, you can do it. You want to throw it on a shaky head, there's no reason you can't. You want to just throw a normal Texas rig down, 20 foot down on a ledge or a rock pile, or a big tree that's down there, or just a large brush pile out in the middle of the lake. You can fish a beaver there all day and catch fish. But like I said earlier, kind of where I mainly throw them is in and around wood and grass whenever I'm up shallow fishing there. These do great in wood. I don't have any problems with the appendages ever getting wrapped up like a ribbon-tailed worm. Don't really have any problems with that. These are super durable too. All the Riot baits are. Not all beavers are durable. The Sweet Beaver from Reaction Innovations, I always have problems with those not lasting real long, but these things last a long time. These will go through several fish, along with most of the other Riot products. But these are really the best out there on the market. Again, if you want to put a Texas rig anywhere, you can put a beaver on it and flip it, pitch it, cast it wherever you want, and these things will catch fish anywhere in the country, any body of water, any time of year. So that's it for today's video on the beaver. Again, I'll have my discount code below if you want to give these Fuzzy Beavers a try, or you just want to check them out on the Riot website. I highly encourage it. Again, if there's one bait I can persuade you to even consider buying from Riot, it's definitely the beaver, in my opinion. It's something I've had a lot of success with, something I truly believe in, and I really do believe that this is the best beaver out there on the market that I have used, and I've used several of them. But again, check them out. Discount code down in the description below. If you got anything out of this video, you learned anything new, or you just liked the video, please leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, ring the notification bell. I have several videos coming out. When I get out of the college dorm, I'll be out on the lake on the boat, and I'll be doing some in-depth tutorials there on the water. So if you're interested in that, please consider sticking around. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you. God bless.